Hello, this is Jeremy Zar from SpraySync. Today we're going to do a walkthrough of the Android app, of the app setup type things, login, picking groups, jobs, chemical loads, all the stuff sort of you get in place before you start spraying. I'm going to go ahead and log in. So this is the initial page of the app. So I'm going to go log in here. And one of the things you'll see about this page, I'm gonna kind of skip through some of this stuff on signing in myself. But if you ever have a situation where you don't remember your password, you forgot it for whatever reason, or your current password just doesn't seem to work, you can always hit that "Don't remember your password" right there. So I'm gonna go ahead and log in. So I've logged in successfully, and so what I'm showing here is a group selector screen. So not very many people will have this, but I just wanted, just to be thorough, I wanted to be able to show this. So this is for if you can actually belong to multiple groups, or that's kind of what we set up for like a organization or a customer. You have individual groups, but we also allow people, if they can belong to more than one SpraySync customer, so you could use your same login and be in multiple. So I have a couple here set up just to kind of show, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the SpraySync one. That's it. And then what it's going to do here is it's going to get to the job selector screen. So this job selector screen is all of the jobs that are underneath that SpraySync group that I set up. That's just my group for this purpose. So what I have here are jobs that I've set up ahead of time. You can create a job here through the app, or you can create it through the website. If you create it through the app, you'll see that I hit the plus button there in the bottom right, and you'll be able to add something here. And that would be able to, once you create in the app, and then as soon as your tablet has access to internet, it syncs it up, so then the website gets it and the other tablets would get it. So that's one thing you can do. I'm just going to go ahead and kind of pick one of these jobs that I have laying around here. One thing about, like, what is a job? Like, what's the purpose of a job? And really, I think about it, it's all about reporting. It's all about how do you currently report? Do you, if you're a county, do you have townships that you like to print individual maps for? Well, you could create a job for each township if you want. If you're a contractor and you have different customers, well, it's pretty natural you'd have a job for each customer, and maybe even per contract. Like if you got the spray contract for 2023, you'd make a job for that customer for 2023. And so that's usually what we recommend is by year. So if you are doing stuff for this year, usually it's not going to be useful to have one job for like all of your spraying for all time, because then next year comes around, you're going to see the spray data from this year on next year's map, and you won't know, did I spray that this year or was that last year? So that's why we typically recommend, pretty common pattern to fall into is create the minimal thing that you would do, which I think most people do. Create one job for your county, if you're a county government, for your county for a year. So, and the other thing to think about, so not only reporting, it makes it nice, we slice up reporting and you can add people onto individual groups or individual jobs so they only see that one job. It's also for reporting. You can actually share an individual job with a person who wants to see access to your data. And you can do that on an individual job level. So, if you have, like let's say you're a contractor and you have different customers, and one customer really wants to see the data, you can actually grant them access to that, just the one job, and create access to it online. So they could log in, they could see that and download it without needing to even contact you. So that can be a way to streamline some of your reporting. So anyways, I'm just going to go pick this one job, this August 2 job. And so what it's going through a quick sync. It hit the internet, got all the stuff for the job, past spraying and everything that was done. This is like, I wanted to show what a fresh install looked like, just so if you see these pop-ups, you know what to do. So this is like a first install. You'd get a standard Android permissions pop-up about what, for permissions for GPS is what this is asking. So it defaults to precise. We want precise, that to be able to get close, to be able to know where we're spraying. We need that. So I tap the while using the app button, and then it's going to do this send you notifications. We don't really send much. We give you notifications about status of like downloads and things like that. So hit allow. And so you'll see that this very first thing that we get is a prompt to pick a vehicle. So this is, I've got, a bunch of different sprayer controllers set up, some bunch of vehicles. A lot of this is for testing. I'm gonna just pick, maybe this Ranger UTV 2 switch that I have up at the top, and I'm gonna hit submit here. You can add new vehicles from here. You can definitely do that, but for the most case, you'll set these stuff up once. So coming into spring, you don't really have to make a lot of choices. This stuff doesn't really change that much. You don't change your sprayer configuration every day. I mean, honestly, every year it's probably going to be the same even from year to year. So usually this is a thing you set up once, and as an applicator, you can come in, just pick this, and I'm going to hit submit. And then one of the things you'll see here is that when we come in to the day, we like to make it as streamlined as possible for the person doing the app, being the applicator and doing stuff. So we have it set up where you really think about, there's 3 things that you need to pick. You need to pick your chemical load, you need to pick your vehicle, and you need to pick your job. So we already did the job, we already picked our vehicle. So the last thing is to pick chemical load. So it defaults, we have a default, every job has a default chemical load. You can see in the bottom left corner here, it'll have picked, every job has a default one. So it goes in there, but you can change that. If you go to the plus button in the bottom right and hit chemical load, you'll see a drop down of all the different chemical loads that I have configured in the system. Usually you're going to name them after the chemical that's in them. So, I have some test data here, so I don't recommend naming your stuff with a bunch of test names, but go through and you can pick a chemical load and hit submit, and then now you'll see that changed in the bottom left. So you always have a quick, easy snapshot of, well, what job am I on, what chemical load am I on, what vehicle am I in? And that's really your thing that you do to check to make sure in the morning, hey, am I good to go? So the other thing that you see here on the left, you've got your weed buttons. So these can really be anything for the most part. People are going to have them with, and they're going to be weeds. And what we have set up here is these weeds are, so you have to always have something picked. So it always forces you to have something, but you can also pick multiple. If you're spraying an area and has multiple weeds, just pick both buttons. So the other thing here is that you'll notice that you can customize the names, you can customize the colors even. That part of it is done on the website side of it, so we don't necessarily have it yet set up where you can customize the weeds inside the app. But when you go to the website and customize and change color, change the order, you can even change the order. That syncs down, and every tablet will have the same order and same color of weeds. So it makes it really easy jumping from vehicle to vehicle for anybody. They're not going to have to relearn, where are the buttons. You get used to where things are at, and they'll be in the same spot. So we're going to now look at kind of the details on the vehicle and the chemical load. So we'll start off first with the chemical load. So you can go up to the top left menu, and there's a chemical load config. So in here, you will see all of these different chemical loads that I have set up in the system. And let's just use this Freelex Tordon one that I have. If I tap on that, I'll see the details. I have the name, I have the total flow rate in the upper right-hand corner. That's like your tank mix rate. So this is optional. You can just put 0. You don't have to put anything in there if you don't want to. But we've had some customers that want to track the overall ounces per acre flow rate of just their tank mix, where everything is mixed together, diluted with water, and what that is. Down here, these are the individual chemicals with their supplier and the chemical, along with the individual chemicals flow rate in ounces per acre. And so realize that you can have, as it seems here, you can have multiple chemicals that you set up in your tank mix, right? You can have as many as you want. Whatever your tank mix is, you can have multiple in there, and each one has its own flow rate. So you can do that. So on the bottom part of it down here, you can add. This is how you would add. So if you have another chemical that you're throwing in there, these are sort of chemical supplier combinations. These are all set up on the website. So we kind of have some of these things where sometimes the website is for administrative things and it's easier to set up there. So those are in there. This one, you can pick from these and you can put a flow rate and hit add and they would show up at the top. So I could put in a flow rate. Actually, let me pick a different chemical. That, and I can hit done, and then I can hit add and it will show up at the top in that list. And then if I want, I can go ahead and remove if I didn't actually want that. So that's the thing where any change that you make, whether it's on the website or whether it's in the app, it will get synced up and pushed back down to all of the tablets. So even if you make a change here on this tablet, it's not just on your tablet. Once you have access to the internet and it syncs up, it's going to send it to the website, and the website will then be able to sync it down to all of the other tablets that might want it. So it's a nice thing. You can always, you're not really doing, there's pretty much nothing that's like a specific tablet only setting. Everything can be, you can reuse your work and have it remembered. So that, and you can also enable, disable. That just kind of makes it, trims lists down, so you have lists where you're picking that chemical load like we did at the initial first page. If you disable something, it won't show up on that list. So if you have stuff you used last year and maybe you're not going to do it again this year, you want to keep your lists nice and tidy, you can disable some of those. You can add a new chemical load from scratch. Test 5, can save. That'll show up here. You can click in there and you can add a new one, and again, this is going to get synced up and everything like the other ones are. So all right, so now we're going to jump over and we're going to do the vehicles. So at any given time, I showed how to change chemical load, so that's in the bottom right. If you want to change the vehicle, you can just click the little tractor in the top right corner. So to see that, that's just this tractor icon in the top right corner, and that's how you do it. So to see the details of the current vehicle you have picked. So our current vehicle is going to be listed in the bottom left, this Ranger UTV2 switch. So I'm going to jump Ranger, so vehicle switch config in the top left menu. So this is going to show me how that is configured. So this shows me that switch 1 is mapped to minus 20 feet to 0 feet. So that's a boom, that's a swath size. So the way we think about it is negative 20. We think about like where the GPS is in the middle of the vehicle, that's 0. Off to the left are negative numbers, off to the right are positive numbers, kind of like a number line. So that first one means I'm spraying from 20 feet to the left to the center of the vehicle. The switch 2 that says 0 to 20, that's from 0 from the middle to 20 feet to the right. So if I tap on that, I can see it maybe in a little better configuration, and you can delete, you can add. You can even have if you have one switch that turns on 2 booms, you can add multiple items in here to be able to handle that. I'll just hit close here. We do have some other spraying options. So you can see that the default here is that this is in boom mode, but we also have the capability to change. If we click on that, we can change to a hose reel line or a backpack mode. And these are different modes. A hose reel line means you're going to track with a line. You're not going to track with a boom has a width, it has a swath, but you're not tracking. You're tracking that width, and then as you're driving, that gives you like a polygon, right? Like an area that you're spraying. With hose reel line, we try and give a bunch of options to be able to track different things. So we kind of think about it. You either, if you want to track with a polygon, or you can. That's an area. If you want to track with a line, great. We can track with a line. That's more appropriate for hose reels. If you want to track with a point, we have another option to be able to track with a point. So you can pick hose reel line or you can pick backpack, and those are different modes that will allow you to track with a line for a hose reel, and for a backpack, it's kind of a narrow line, kind of where you're spraying and driving. So those are very similar. They're both with a line, but yeah. So that's really kind of how that setup goes. You can always go to a new switch if you're adding something. You can add in and say, if I want to spray from 5 to 10 feet off to the right, I can hit add, and that's all good. So that's 510, that'll show up there. And again, one thing I'll mention is that there's a sync button in the top right, this little, with the arrows kind of going in a circle. If you click that, that's going to actually sort of force a sync. Most of the time it'll do a sync automatically, but sometimes if I'm doing stuff in the app, I make a change, I want to hit that button so that it makes sure that it syncs up. So then at this point I'd be able to go to the website and I'd be able to see it up there. So that's really the basics of what is needed to spray. Once you've done this part, then you're kind of ready to go. If you start driving, and we're going to go over that in the next part to this series, which is actual like the act of spraying and while you're driving, how things go. So anyways, thanks and talk to you soon.